Politics and Random. Egberto Willies, your host. I am not sure what is happening, but we are on all channels except for YouTube. And I'm looking at the scroll. I'm looking at what we're doing right now, and I see that we are in fact sending data to all our streamers, both the Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, as well as Twitter and YouTube. But YouTube doesn't seem to be receiving the data. I think the problem is that YouTube, if you try to pull YouTube up, it's kind of slow today as well. So I am not sure what is happening with YouTube, but YouTube has been given problems all morning as far as getting things posted, etc. So I think YouTube may be having some issues. So please go to either Twitter, Egberto Willies, rather twitter.com/Egberto Willies, or Twitch or Facebook. But you can probably go ahead and build, or let's start building up that Twitter thing. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like, in fact, we streamed one this morning and that just showed up now. But it seemed like it's still having some problems getting into the stream. That is either a problem at YouTube or a problem at who do we use? Restream. I'm not sure who it is yet, but can't help, can't do anything. It's just going to really hurt our performance. But that's, you take it. You take the punches when you have to take the punches. Maybe it'll start streaming. It's still trying. Let me just let you know that it's still trying. And I probably should try to go to the YouTube encoder and see what's happening at the YouTube encoder. And let's see if there's anything that is showing up at the encoder. Yeah, the encoder shows that it's trying to receive data. It shows that it's trying to receive data, but for some reason they're not connecting. Yep. They're trying. All right, let's just go ahead and get started, and with the expectation that eventually it'll start working. Let me requeue it one more time and see if shutting it down and shutting it back up will somehow cause it to work again. What is the Twitch site? Radnin, give Bridge MCP the Twitch site. Please enter it into the system. I think it is twitch.com/ewillies. I think that's what it is. Let me go ahead and put twitch.com. Let me go ahead and check it. twitch.com/ewillies. I'm testing it, and then I'll put it in the feed if that's it. Let's see. Yeah, it is twitch.com/ewillies. twitch.com/ewillies. Thank you very much for that as well. Or rather, twitch.tv/ewillies. Thank you very much for that, Radin. Appreciate that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. Went to check my blood pressure at the doctor today. It's close to normal, a little bit on the high side, but a lot better than it was before. It's not blowing my head off at this point in time. So for that, I'm happy. And by the way, it seems like the YouTube stream is up. Apparently, they were able to connect. So we're going to get started in a minute. Let me just add that to our Daily Coast stream here, and then we'll be able to connect. I think it is up, and at least it seems like the data is going. Anyway, let's get busy. Look, how was your weekend? I trust everybody's had a good weekend. Let's hope you had a good weekend. There you go. Melanie is on the YouTube stream, so it did come up. But I need to get some more info on it. Anyway, let's go ahead and get busy. Today's topic is Senator Tim Scott bullies this week with GOP lies, how workers can start winning the class war. All right. Let's first salute everybody. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is in the house. Paul Fleming from Powder Lane, Georgia. Georgia. Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. E2247 from all over. Bridge MCP from Binghamton, New York. Michael Rudnin from Brooklyn, New York. We also have the one and only Yvette Avery Harrod from Atlanta, Yvette Avery Herod from Atlanta, Georgia. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. Paul Fleming, I called it. Powder Springs, Georgia. Thank you for that, brother Fleming. Let's see who else we had. If I missed anybody, I hope I didn't miss anybody. But anyway, let's go ahead and get busy. I have a video to play for you. Yesterday, I was extraordinarily upset. I'm very upset after watching This Week and Tim Scott on This Week. And what I want to do, I'll read the comments after I play this. I want to play this, a fairly long thing that I did because I wanted to make sure and do it right. So what I'm going to do right now is load her up. If I can find her, I'm going to load her up. And we're going to start with this ridiculous interview on This Week. And it's one of the reasons the GOP still has a chance. Tom C says, just got in from hot, humid Houston weather, moving into Michigan this week. Yeah. Houston weather is moving in and it's going to get you. We're very difficult. But anyway, here is the video, and then we'll go to the comments afterwards. Check it out. Here is an example of why Americans are so ill-informed. I mean, first of all, it seemed to me like Jonathan Karl was not prepared for this interview. He came to ask about bump stocks, and what Senator Tim Scott came to do was to lie to the American people. And in Jonathan Karl's single focus on bump stock and not seeing how Tim Scott came on to This Week to completely take over the program and use them as a platform to lie and mislead Americans, it is a complete malpractice. It is journalistic malpractice, what we're going to see here. Check this part out, and then we'll take it on the other side.
I want to start with the Supreme Court's decision on Friday, overturning an executive action by President Trump to ban bump stocks after they were used in what was and still remains the deadliest mass shooting in American history. Were you satisfied with that? Have any concerns about that decision?
John, it's simply this. We trust and believe and respect the decision of the Supreme Court. What we need to focus on, John, is the violence that we're seeing across this nation. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the greatest increase in violent crime in my lifetime. And so focusing on ways for us to reduce that crime means getting 4 more years of Donald Trump. Under Donald Trump, we actually respected law enforcement. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the movement to defund the police, leaving communities like the one I grew up in devastated and ravaged by a wave of violent crime that we have not seen literally in 5 decades.
Actually, Senator, as you probably know, the latest stats on violent crime and on the murder rate, they're actually down this past year. But let me get back to my question about the Supreme Court's decision.
Let's take a look at those. Let's take a look at those crime rates. We've seen over 4,000 shootings just in the city of Chicago. We've seen a spike in violent crime. It's nice to see something plateau, but the fact of the matter is simple. Under Joe Biden, neighborhoods like the ones I grew up in have never been ravaged.
But back to
the one that raised me are trapped in their houses from the time the sun goes down until it comes up again.
So to my question, though, on bump stocks, would you now favor a Congress acting to ban bump stocks? You had said after that shooting in Las Vegas that if the vote came up, it would sail through Congress. So are you in favor of that ban right now?
Well, I'm strongly in support of the Second Amendment, but what we're going to do in the party, and
I asked about the ban on bump stocks, not the Second Amendment.
We're going to focus on the priorities of the American people. And what the priorities of the American people are today is to focus on closing our southern border. Under Donald Trump, we had a precipitous drop in illegal border crossings. Under Donald Trump, under Joe Biden, we've seen an explosion. 10 million illegal immigrants have invaded our country, leading to migrant crime that we just saw just yesterday.
Okay.
A mother of 5 killed by an illegal immigrant. So what the focus will be is on the safety of the American people. That starts with focusing on our southern border.
Okay, so you're not going to answer that question.
Jonathan Karl, correctly, he did the right thing, right? Tim Scott lied about the crime rate going up. In fact, it was such a big lie to say, this was the biggest crime that we've seen in my lifetime. Complete lie. Not only hyperbole, it was just a lie. Jonathan Karl came back and said, no, sir, I'm sure you know that the crime rate is down. And it's not down a little. It is down a lot. That we get these crime scenes in major media markets that explode them relative to what's really happening in the country. That's on the media who's misrepresenting what is really happening. But Jonathan Karl made that correction as he should. But then what did Tim Scott do? Tim Scott went ahead and moved from crime rates being high to then personalizing different communities that may see violence in their communities. And Karl let that stand. He let him reframe the debate, as opposed to saying, well, those crimes are occurring because of policies that Republicans refuse to pass that would prevent those types of crimes in your communities. Isn't that right? I mean, there was so much that Jonathan Karl could do there to go ahead and force Tim Scott into not lying to the American people, because when he has to answer specifics, at that point in time, he has to do something else. And let me give an example of how Tim Scott had to change the subject and would have had to do the same when he was hit appropriately. When Jonathan Karl said, well, I am still, what I really want to know about is bump stocks. And he kind of centralized him on bump stocks again. And Tim Scott switch the argument about, I support the Second Amendment. We really need to talk about things that the American people are concerned about. And then he immediately jumps to immigration. And Karl's retort was simply, I guess you're not going to answer the question, and then allowed Tim Scott to go ahead and change the subject and make the case. It seemed like Tim Scott came there to interview John Karl and tell John Karl what he wanted on that in that segment. But let's continue.
Let me get to Donald Trump's visit to Capitol Hill. I want to ask you about a few of the policies he spoke at in the meeting with the House Republicans and with the Senate Republicans. During the meeting with House Republicans, he declared that he, quote, loves tariffs. I'm just wondering, do you, I know you've been a free trader for as long as I've known you. Do you love tariffs now?
Listen, one of the things that we have to do is recognize that we should focus on free trade, but free trade requires a fair competition. When you have China literally lying, cheating, and stealing our intellectual property, yes, tariffs create headwinds that actually levels the playing field. But more importantly, what we need is a president who understands how to fix our broken economy today. And Donald Trump led us to the strongest economy we've seen in the last 50 years. So it started with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that lowered rates and made us more globally competitive.
So let me ask you about,
absolutely steals our intellectual property, and that's devastating. We have to have that.
So let me ask you about one of the specific policy ideas he floated while he was in Washington. He floated the idea of raising tariffs high enough to be able to eliminate all of the income that comes in from income taxes. Is that, I mean, by some calculations, that's a 70% across the board tax on everything imported in the country. Some other estimates, it's nearly 100%. Would you favor a policy like that? Replacing the income tax with a massive new tariffs on everything coming into the country?
John, I wasn't in that House meeting. I was in the Senate meeting. But what I can tell you spoke about during the time of the Senate is actually exempting taxation on tips. The working class coalition that is now supporting Donald Trump is supporting Donald Trump because they know, looking back over his 4 years, they were better off under Donald Trump. Their wages went up. Their taxes went down. They had more spending power. Under Joe Biden, we've seen the exact opposite. Their wages, frankly, have gone down. Costs have gone up, and they have less spending power. And so what we talked about during the meeting with President Trump is the importance of focusing on the actual working class, exempting tips is a great idea, followed by more tax cuts that actually generates more revenue to the treasury and more money in the pockets of the average family. John, when we did this in 2017, we saw revenues go up to the treasury in 2018 and 2019 and $4,000 back in the pockets of the average family. So
there again, Jonathan Karl allows the Senator Tim Scott to use his platform, the ABC platform, to lie to the American people. Donald Trump had the biggest economy in 50 years. Look, it's not like we don't have the data. Even before the pandemic, if you take the pandemic years out of the equation, the Biden economy still outperforms Trump's economy, which was nothing but the extension of Obama's economy. As far as chips and all these other things, it wasn't Donald Trump who got a infrastructure bill that created a whole lot of the type of employment that we have today. That is employment in galore, the biggest, the largest amount of employment ever. It hasn't been Donald Trump who went ahead and drop the poverty rate. It hasn't been Donald Trump who did any of these things. But you hear Tim Scott comes on and make these statements, and then we have Jonathan Karl in his tunnel vision in which he's doing this interview, not saying, oh, that's not true. Donald Trump accumulated $7 to $8 trillion in debt when he left office. What are you talking about, Tim Scott? One, employment was at its lowest when he left, pandemic or no pandemic. He didn't live on, he was not a great president economically. Secondly, the tax cut he gave for the rich was permanent, and the tax cuts, which were minute, that he gave to the middle class expires. So come on, Tim Scott, or come on, Jonathan Karl. Why is it that we allow these guys to come on TV and simply lie and make believe that things are the way they aren't? And once you don't push back for the truth, the media is not doing its job. If you allow these guys to come on and you don't challenge the lies that they tell, you must be prepared for this thing. I wrote a whole article on this particular economy. And we should have those multimillionaire hosts that are on TV doing the right thing. It's not that difficult. The data is right there for all to see.
So this was Trump's first visit to Capitol Hill since before the attack on January 6th. I want to play something for you that he said just days before he came back to Capitol Hill about those who have been convicted for attacking the Capitol. Take a listen.
J6 warriors, they were warriors, but they were really more than anything else. They're victims of what happened. All they were doing is protesting a rigged election.
So do you buy that the people that came in, beat up Capitol police officers, broke into the building, that they're warriors, or he's also called them hostages, that they're victims? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, anyone who attacks an officer, whether on the Capitol grounds or any place else in the country, should serve time. The question is, for those nonviolent folks who sat outside, who actually simply protested or came into the Capitol because the doors were open, who created no crime, no challenges, those folks today sitting crime in pre-trial. That's a devastation. Some of those have been in pre-trial incarcerated for longer than the sentence attached to that crime. But let me say simply, John, the greatest threat to democracy today is Joe Biden. It started back when he became president. We saw a botched Afghanistan withdrawal where 13 Americans lost their lives. We've seen a wide open, insecure, unsafe southern border with sleeper cells likely in our country, over 100,000 Chinese nationals crossing our southern border. Men from Yemen, Iraq, and Afghanistan now populating our country. Senator, the 10 million illegal immigrant invasion.
Okay, Senator, the day before that violent mob attacked the Capitol, you put out a statement explaining your decision to certify Joe Biden's election victory. Do you stand by that? You were not one of those that challenged the results. You voted to certify Biden's election victory. Do you stand by that?
Certainly. I will stand by that decision and the next decision to certify the fact that Donald Trump will be the next president of the United States. November 5th, the day of reckoning is coming. The early ballots go out in places like North Carolina starting in September. We're going to focus on making sure that we use every tool in the toolkit to make sure that this election results are clear and profound, and that the American people get 4 more years of low unemployment, low inflation, high enthusiasm, and a president respected and sometimes feared on the global stage. That president will be Donald Trump.
All right. And then very quickly, we're just about out of time, but you had said that Mike Pence absolutely did the right thing when he defied Donald Trump's demand to not certify that election. Do you still stand by that Pence absolutely did the right thing on January 6th?
The Constitution is clear. What we're trying to focus on is how do we make sure we get 4 more years where the American people, particularly kids like me, growing up in poverty, have the best future we could possibly have.
Senator Scott, thank you.
Version of the American dream.
Senator Scott appeared on This Week with a mission. His mission was to lie to the American people. His mission was to walk over the host. His mission was to completely disregard any statement that the host or question that the host had for him and change that into what he wanted to tell the American people. And you know what Tim Scott did? Tim Scott did a great job of telling the Americans a whole bunch of lies. He got a great job in telling Americans that somehow they were better off under the Trump administration than what we're getting under the Biden administration. Look, what has occurred under Biden is not the best. What had occurred under Trump was actually terrible, even before the pandemic. But we have Americans in general, the corporatocracy takes advantage of their very short memories that somehow they don't want to feel the pain, the remembrance of what occurred under a pandemic, the difficult lives that we have, the lives that we had that were difficult because of what Trump did. And I tell you, I don't know who the advisors are in Washington for the Democratic Party, Democratic candidates, but we should tell the truth. And the truth is the pandemic worldwide got as bad as it did because American leadership was not there. We had leadership for every single potential pandemic prior to Donald Trump. We didn't get an Ebola epidemic in the United States. We get an H1N1 epidemic in the United States because we mitigated it. And because we mitigated it, you didn't hear about it. You didn't get hundreds of thousands, millions of people dead because we had a president that did his job, her job, to make sure these things didn't happen. Donald Trump failed, and it cost millions of people their lives. So he failed at the pandemic. He failed at having a sound economy. Remember, his economy was built on a tax cut that blew up the budget. And not only did he fail there, he failed on creating a pathway for these people that he's claiming were doing better under him. Let's be clear now. Black unemployment has been better under Biden than under Trump. But I don't even know that is the metric that we need to measure. We need to measure the metric of totality. And when we look at what's in the pipeline, the CHIPS program that's going to bring back manufacturing to the United States for building chips, that brings back a lot of our supply chain that they screwed up. The corporatocracy and Trump's ilk screwed up, bringing that back into the fold. That is what we're talking about. For the American people who are contemplating the potential, the possibility of voting for Donald Trump, be careful what you're doing. Because, look, most people are going to be fine. Most of the people doing what they do are going to be fine. They're going to be telling you just support Trump and things are going to happen. You support Trump at your peril. You support Trump and the lies that he tells because it cannot come to fruition will screw the working class. Beware.
we spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.
Here is an example of why Americans are so ill-informed. I mean, absolutely join. Anyway, folks, let me get to the. I tell you what I'm going to do first. I'm going to go to E2247, who brings us his daily stats. So day 255 since 7 of October 2023, at least 37,347 Palestinians killed, 546 persons more than day 245, at least 85,372 wounded, 1,692 persons more than day 245, 122,719 casualties. I am doing this not just in honor of the work E227 does for this, but because we can't let this leave the headlines as it's currently starting to leave the headline. A lot of people continue to get killed. A lot of people continue to be maimed. A lot of people continue to suffer the savagery of genocide by Benjamin Netanyahu and his ilk. Continuing, 122,719 casualties equal 481 people per day of estimated 5,385 12 West Bank and Gaza Palestinians. That's equivalent to what again? That is equivalent to an American population of 7,670,843. We ought to be cognizant about that. And it's our bombs that's doing a whole lot of that killing. Let's be cognizant about that. Michael Rudden has some little inserts in there that's worth reading. Very important. Because while Brother went ahead and said that Lee Grant says that, yeah, most of the killings are committed with handguns. Brother Rudnin came up with some interesting statistics on what's happening now. The other thing also is a high-powered AR-15. The damage that it does to one's body is a lot more than handguns, etc. So you want to know why we are centralizing on AR-15? Look, I would centralize on the whole damn thing, right? I would make guns as difficult to get in America as it is to get in any other civilized country. It's only in an uncivilized country that you give people the probability or give them the option to go ahead and murder. But what can I say? That's only me. Carl Scott is in the house. He says Tim Scott is a born-again liar, like his hero cult leader, Donald Trump. Well, you see, he's doing everything to become Donald Trump's vice president right now. Eric Hayes says, question if our currency is sovereign and we can print as much as possible, why are we paying taxes? Believe it or not, there is a group that points out that technically speaking, we don't need to pay taxes. But there's a balance between using taxation to control inflation. In other words, what you do is you can take money out of the market, and you have to have some balance between money and supply. And I don't mean the evil part that corporations play where if they know you have money, they're going to make the prices meet the amount of money you have. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about we have to revamp the entire economic system to reflect that with a sovereign currency, we can stop. Here's what I'm saying. We can prevent our limitation of money from stopping progress. Let me give an example. Right now, we are having storms all over the country. California is drying out and the center of the country is flooding. Now, make believe we had an infinite, right now we have, let's say, a lot of immigrants want to come to the United States. We could make America a panacea. We have probably reached a certain tipping point with climate change. We can't just say sit back here and die. We have to do what's necessary to mitigate climate change, to get on the other side of the equation. But in the interim, think about the great things that we could do. We could build canals If money was not the limiting factor, if we have labor and we have the will, the only thing that stops us is an economic system that doesn't know how to connect labor with the job that needs to be done. As an engineer, I always think about the problem and the solution and what's in the middle to connect the problem to the solution. And that is what our economic system fails royally at doing for one reason. And the reason why is capitalism says, if the capitalist, the few people that controls capital, if they can't figure out a way to just make a hoard of money on something, they don't do it. That is why certain diseases go undeveloped, unserviced. That is why we can't build certain kinds of infrastructure that we need. So believe it or not, Eric Hayes, I know you said it sarcastically, but there is something to that statement. I'm not going to go any further into it. Let me get to other reading here. Let's see what else. I'm scrolling down. I may miss some of your stuff. If I miss it, just throw it in the bottom of the scroll. Persuasive Barrier says, I forget if you've talked about 2,000 mules being pulled for lies, but have you spoken about the doctored video to make Biden look like he was wandering off? It is so pathetic. If their guy was so strong, they wouldn't have to try to make Biden look weak. And that is a funny video. It's funny because Biden walked off from the crowd of presidents to talk to some paratroopers, military guys. So he just walked off. And the way Fox News cut it is they simply showed him walking off, seeming to talk to nobody as he was talking to the infantry guys or whatever these guys were. But it was so blatant, and Fox News, a news channel, played it. It proved to you that Fox News is not a news channel. Thanks for bringing that up, Persuasive Barrier. Rodnan, maybe if you can find that clip on Twitter while I'm talking here, I may be able to play it for people to see the two sides. If you can find a clip with two sides, that would be great. You know, Rodnan is our resident researcher. All right, what else we got here? Paul Fleming says, I don't think GOP women actually fathom the danger they put themselves in voting for the grifting orange blob and the GOP. The overturn of Roe, the attempt to eliminate no-fault divorce, the GOP is showing women's now that they will be relegated to property if they take over and Project 2025, or as I like to call it, Gilead game plan, is implemented. Ripping away the right to control your body is only the beginning. People will call me alarmist, but hear me out. We don't have to call you alarmist. We just have to finish reading Project 2025. I have it on my website. I haven't got through not even 10% of it yet. But, you know, following what the Republicans have wanted for a long time, it's just a central location for all the proposals that they've ever had. Let's see. And they think that if they get unified government, meaning the executive state or executive control by Trump, the Senate and the House, they can go ahead and do all the evil that they want to do. All right. Let's see what else we've got here. Let's see. Michael Rodney says, Marxists provide. I'm not sure what to do for the mass shooting problem that we have. We have more guns than people in the country with a small number of hoarders owning arsenals. We could pass universal background checks for new gun sales to make sure peer-to-peer sales and gun shows are included, but that would have an impact on gun deaths over a decade. We could restore the 1990 gun assault weapons ban, but again, unsure how that would impact the deaths. We could promote red flag laws to confiscate guns. Look, we just need to have, I'm not going to read any more of that. We just need to change our morality. Again, we like to think that we're more moral than we are. Okay, I am ashamed I voted for Biden. What a choice we got in November 5. Genocide enabler or genocide celebrator. Bad grief. I hear you. You don't need to be ashamed for a vote. E2247, hear me out here. Don't be ashamed. We have two lousy choices, but one is a terrifying choice. We have to go with the less lousy choice. Since I'm at 40, yes, Vrij, I got your messages. And what I want to do is I want you to call in about 5 minutes, Vrij, and let's talk about the message, because it is imperative out of your voice more than anything else that we hear that message. So Vrij MCP, I'll be waiting for your call in 5 minutes. Vrij, let's see, Michael Rudnin, Marxist for let's continue here. Let's continue here. Let's see. Let me continue scrolling down. Why are comments getting removed? I am not sure. I didn't know comments got removed. Vrij, are you monitoring that to see what's happening? Egberto should talk more about Trump's plan for our border. He wants war powers to start his own Gaza-like conflict. Persuasive Barrett, I listen to whatever you have to say, to whatever my audience has to say. So if we need to talk about that, we should. Michael Rudden says, why do we need taxes when we can print money? That viewpoint misunderstands how MMT economics works. You can only print money equal to the excess of goods and services. And that's the magic that Rudden just said. If you print more than you have available goods and service, meaning to exchange, that money in effect will start competing for the services, causing the prices to rise. And that will give you runaway inflation. That's just the mathematics of it. But there are two things that gives you inflation. One is benign, or neither one are benign, but one is evil. When corporations raise prices because they know you have cash in your pocket, when there's ample supply, that's evil. That is just saying that is tantamount to theft, which is what has occurred with this inflation. We never had shortages. There was never a shortage of oil. There was never a shortage of all these things. They just made the prices higher because people had the money. Nothing, no other reason. And they just took your money. Let's see. Carl Cox says, Egberto, our economics system favors only the mega rich. That is true. If politicians can't make money a bribe, they don't want to fund it. Fox News is a propaganda. That's true. All right, let's see. Egberto, you can't legislate morality. At best, you can legislate paths toward equity. And I think that's all that we say. We don't want to legislate morality. But what I'm saying is there are a lot of people much more intelligent than you and I who could devise a system that, maybe while not perfect, has the ability to prevent the grand theft of the working class. I am sure that there is a system out there that can do that. All right, Bridge MCP, give me a call. Let me pull that up as well. 281-823-7747. Again, Bridge MCP, I await your call because we want to discuss the potato famine. Give us a call, 281. Let me get that on the screen if I can. Because I think what you showed us there, Vrij, was so damn important. But then again, you always show us very important things. So give us a call, 281-823-7747. Let's get to Vrij's piece here. All right. Until Vrij calls in, let me continue reading. AI will do better. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Michael Rudin says, Lee, getting all our citizens out of poverty, making sure we have clean environments to live, and treating both minorities and women with respect. And that is correct. And good afternoon, Bridge MCP. How are you doing this afternoon, my dear friend?
Hey, guys. Oh,
all right.
It's a little hot up here. It's 102.
You got to be kidding me.
You guys, but
wait. Are you serious? Are you serious? It's 102
with it's 99 with the heat index, 102. Tomorrow 106, then 8, then 9 by Thursday or something.
Oh my God! I didn't know that could happen out there.
My air conditioner's like, oh, what a heat wave! Oh my God! All I do is get up in the morning, give the birds water, go back in the evening, give them more water. Even last night, I don't know if it was a fox, but one of them jumped up and go on my bird bath and flipped the whole thing over. And it's heavy; I could barely pick it up. And flipped.
Oh my God!
I must have been taking a bath.
Oh my God!
Anyway, yeah. You just posted that? Did you see the message before that?
Yes. Let me get to the message before. Let me take this off the screen first.
That's a good one too. That's a good one too.
Right, but actually, let's start here. Tell us what you wanted to do when you send me those two messages, because it's very, very important. Tell us a story. So let me first introduce you. Wait, hold on. Let me first introduce you, because this is going to be a blog. Folks, calling in today, we have Bridge MCP, who is a great supporter of politics done right, a supporter of the rights of everybody. She sent me a message that I wanted her to explain why she sent this message. It's on the screen. I want to read the caption. It says, rotten potatoes and seaweed or even grass properly mixed afforded a very wholesome and nutritious food. All knew that Irishmen could live upon anything, and there was plenty grass in the field, though the potato crop should fail. That was the Duke of Cambridge, January 1846. Tell us about it.
Well, the other post says that there never was a famine. There was a genocide, which I wanted E2247 to hear. And people think, like, if America lost corn, would we all die? Would 1 million people die if you didn't have corn? No. So why did 1 million Irish people die when Spain, Italy, so many countries were sending shiploads of food, meat, and all kinds of food to Ireland to help us because we had a famine? And during then, yes, they did eat potatoes, but they ate other things. Well, the British took them away. They were the ones that controlled the actual poultry and meat, and they took it away. So they took the Irish, and like that picture shows you, why can't they eat grass? Grass is a nutrition, wholesome food. Meanwhile, they took all the shiploads of food that was coming and put it in a warehouse, and they took Irish people over to England, and they made them unload the food and gave them pennies. I mean, nothing. They didn't even give them food to eat. And they had to unload the food, and that was given to the British. It was not given back to the Irish. They killed them. That's why so many Irish left and came to this country, if they could, living in the bottom of a ship. Half of them died. But that's why they came here. So in relationship to what's going on in Israel and Palestine, it's genocide. And the British government, I think it was about 20 years ago, and I'm not going to have the numbers straight, but they were fined, I don't know, if it was $5 billion or $25 million, a ridiculous amount of money for what they did to the Irish. But people think, oh, you just had a famine on potatoes. What's the big deal? That's how the British government controlled you. They separated us and controlled us, our country. And people think, oh, look at the royals. Aren't they handsome? Oh, look at the queen. Isn't she wonderful? No, they're not. They ruled everything back then, and they rule a lot now, but they lost a lot of their territories. Places became republic. They didn't want to be ruled by them anymore. They were torturous. They were horrible, horrible. I mean, look what that guy said. They can eat grass. Well, you eat the food that Spain gave us to eat, that we had to unload for you. So it's very difficult when I see people not understanding what's going on with Palestine and the genocide that's going on. I'm not saying Israel as people are bad. We know, terrorism is wrong. You can be against terrorism and still be against the government that's doing genocide. They're doing the same thing blatantly. And no one's really talking about it. I have a very, very Jewish friend, and we had to stop talking because she said, I don't know what I'm talking about. And I said, okay, she said, we can agree to disagree. And I said, no, that's for coffee and ice cream colors. This is a fact, what's going on. I mean, even today, what is it? Netanyahu's war person quit the other day, and now he dismantled the entire war council, whatever they call these things. I mean, he knows. And the whole country, the whole world is against him. But getting back to Ireland, this happened to us, our people. And no one knows. They think it was just a famine. It was genocide. There was over 1 million people that died. and over 1 million or 2 million, I think, left, and almost 1 million people that were left sick and hungry. I mean, they almost got to the point that it didn't come to it, but they almost got to the point of eating their own. It was horrible. So that's why I wanted to send that to you, that people don't realize how bad this is, how bad it was for the Irish.
What I wanted to do, and why I wanted that in your words as well, is that history being told usually is told by the victor or the oppressor, the one who has the power to do so. And those who lived under it, they simply acquiesce to it. So we have to listen to what Netanyahu says about how bad the Palestinians are, when we know they're Palestinian terrorists and then they're the rest. The fact of the matter is, what he's effecting on Palestine right now is genocide in the name of Israel, not the Israeli. The Israeli people really are being taken into this action. But again, it's he who is evil, who is effecting the genocide. And for those of us who've lived through what some stronger country has been able to do to a weaker country, and then propagandize it as something that it isn't. You are empathetic. You can be empathetic enough with Palestine or Gaza and the West Bank. And I noticed that the parliament in Ireland is as well. They are very sympathetic towards Palestine, and there is a history there that many don't understand. Myself, being from Panama, go ahead, please.
I was going to say, way back when people don't. The IRA was labeled as terrorists incorrectly, but not really. I mean, some things were bad, but the IRA were named as terrorists. So now all of a sudden it's an international of the terrorists, and all they were doing was trying to fight the British Army that took over their country. I mean, the other terrorist group was the UDF, that was the Protestant people, and you could look them up in the phone book. But the IRA were outlawed and terrorists. So when you beat a person bad enough, they're either going to acquiesce or they're going to stand up and say, no, we're not doing this anymore. Enough. So back when the IRA was starting, the PLO was around, if people remember that. And the IRA and the PLO were very close in relationships with whatever ammunition and guns they were doing back and forth. That was a big thing. So the Irish have always stood up for Palestine. Unless you remember, it was always called Palestine, and they always got along, Jewish and the Palestine
Muslims, people. Yeah.
They always got along. Muslims. They always got along until that whole 1948 stuff started. But I cannot understand how a people who went through a Holocaust, well, not those people now, I mean, their relatives, could do this to another person. That's why, the Irish don't get to be racist. They're not allowed to be, because we've gone through this stuff. We understand what goes on. It happened to us. It's never happened to this country. Could you think about just taking the northeast of the United States and saying, oh, France owns it now. Oh, you can't vote. You can't speak your language. You can't be whatever religion. You have to be this religion. You don't have jobs. You can't do this. You can't do that. And the rest of the country just sit by and be like, okay. That's what happened. And like my grandfather, he worked on the Titanic. He was a painter. And when he was born, his mother knew to give him a Protestant name, William. And they gave him a Protestant name so he would fit in. And he had to walk a big mile around in a circle so he could meet up with the other, what they call prods, to go to work on the Titanic. If you were found out that you were actually Catholic, you were burnt into that molten steel and put into that ship. My grandfather's diary says we all knew that ship was doomed. It was never going to make it anywhere. And anybody who worked on that ship was given a free ride to England on their first, before the voyage, the maiden voyage. And my grandfather wouldn't go. He was like, I'm not stepping foot on that thing. There's so many hundreds of Irish people into the hull that they found out that they were Catholic, put them into the steel, and right into the hull they went. People don't know these things. They listen to what the British government says. not what really happened. And it's happening in this country too. They're flipping this, like that guy you just had on, Tim Scott. Oh my God. But anyway, I digress. So I just wanted to tell you that what happened is happening in Palestine because they say it's Hamas. They can say what they want. It's not. They want them out. And this is how they're doing it.
You know, it is amazing because powers work the same no matter who it is. And that is one of the reasons why, as you can see, even the United States doesn't have the moral authority to really bring down Netanyahu. I mean, I always bring up the story about Panama and the amount of people that got killed because there's a disagreement between the American government and Manuel Antonio Noriega in Panama. Thousands of Panamanians had to lose their lives. Thousands. That just showed that these lives had no value to us. And it's the same thing that we find that is occurring in inside of Gaza. It's the same thing that happened ultimately in Ireland. It's the same thing that happens all over when these powers take command. And they're the ones who write the history. They're the ones who indoctrinate their people into not hearing truths. But thank you. I wanted you to come on and tell this story because, again, very few people know that really the potato famine was really a British genocide.
Yeah, thank you, Roberto. I didn't mean to make a big deal out of it. I just
this is what look
where I'm coming from on things.
Yes, this is important. This is important because, again, before you go, I want to say something that really upset me this morning. TikTok has been a great platform for people who are unable to get their message verifiable. I mean, there's a whole lot of junk on TikTok, just like there's a whole lot of junk on Instagram and Facebook, etc. But if you follow reputable influencers, a lot of them are professors, engineers, doctors, etc., that have positive message to tell. And there's so much that's coming out now on the French in Africa. Again, that I said, it's verifiable. There's a lot of information out there. The reason we don't know it is just the mass of information out there. And that they've sent me reading about France in Africa. They've sent me reading about all these different stories. What the West fears the most about TikTok is that it's an intelligent platform that can be used for good and can be used for evil. But when it's used for good, the power that it has to inform is amazing. And it's creating an educated populace.
You know what's strange about TikTok is they want to get rid of it, but they want the Americans to own it.
Right.
What the American company wants to, I don't know what they're right. They want it now. They can control them. They're going to have it their way. I mean, if anybody is smart enough to actually read and comprehend and not repeat themselves constantly the same crap, if they read and go through, I have a brief of the Project 2025. If you're okay thinking that's a Christian moral doctrine, there's something seriously mental with you. Because even the people who are extreme right are going to be hurt by this. Mm-hmm. And they don't even get it. It scares the hell out of me.
That's because they're not reading. Now, if you have, do you have the brief in PDF form?
Yeah, I do. I spread it all over the place.
Okay, you should just drop me a...
No, it's not a PDF format. I don't know if it's PDF, but I do have the brief of it.
Just put a link. Just like you sent me the other stuff. Put a link in there. I want to see how it compares to the one that I posted at my site. But it is important.
Yours is the whole PDF.
Yes, it's a whole PDF. Now it's interesting, folks, because what Bridge is saying is very important, and it's something that we better look out for. And when you see that an American company wants to buy TikTok, the same thing that they've done with our mainstream media, like that interview that you just saw there. You want to get ice cream or do you want to get real stuff? They want to turn it into something that they can control that doesn't give you the opportunity to learn. That's what it's all about. But anyway, Bridge, send me that link and there you go. I appreciate it. Look, thank you so kindly for calling in. And we are close to the end of the show. So let me go ahead and do my ask I must. Have a great day. Thank you, Bridge. All right,
Bye.
folks, look, that was Bridge MCP, one of our great supporters and ardent member of the PDR posse, like many of you are. Great conversation that's been happening inside as I was speaking to Bridge. But, folks, a persuasive barrier, is it persuasive barrier that tells me that we were talking about voting for the lesser of two evils? Remember to bring that discussion up tomorrow because I want to take it a little bit further. So let's go ahead and do that persuasive barrier. I got to do my ask right now and ask you to support the program. Interestingly, we went from 103 subscribers to our newsletter to 110 over the weekend. We still need hundreds more, but that's smooth. So I want to ask you all to support the newsletter if you have the wherewithal to do so, if you are able to, a coffee a month or so. Just go ahead. Let's see. Bruce Pollard, welcome, my brother. He said, history shows individuals make decisions that are bigger than themselves and may not even affect them. See Treaty of Versailles. Okay, I'll do that. Or maybe you should come on and talk about it. Let's see. So support us at our newsletter. Please go to politicsandright.com/newsletter. Become a monthly subscriber. It's a coffee a month, and that helps. I need over 1,000 subscribers to break even, and as you can see, I'm nowhere close at this point. But you guys can start one at a time. You guys can ask your friends to support our endeavor, support our project. Over the weekend, I sent out an ask on Substack, and what I should do is go ahead and let me go for a minute here and get to the right screen. Let's go to the right screen for that. Bear with me 1 second. I went ahead and sent out a Substack, giving you all a little message here. Maybe I can find it. Maybe I won't. Who knows? But there it is. Check out this Substack and for the ask, share that around if you can. I'm trying to get more subscribers to our newsletter. Again, a coffee or so every month. It really goes far in ensuring that we can continue doing that. And I just put the link into the stream. I should actually put the link inside of the TikTok, or not the TikTok, but I don't think it goes over to X, so I should put it in X as well. So, but anyway, folks, I got to get out of here. Please support the show. I have the link inside there. You can make a difference. You can make sure that we continue doing what we must do here without fail. It is in your hands. Anyway, I got to get out of here. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want.